Morning, it's 9 o'clock. Call to order the Pipestone County Commissioners meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Pipestone County Commissioners meeting held 1 week early because we don't want to be here on Christmas Eve day. Present are all five commissioners: Duke Johnson, Doug Nagel, Dallas Roskamp, Dan Wildermuth, Chris Hollingsworth, Steve Ewing, County Administrator, and Barry Menace, County HR Director. Is there any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, in the consent agenda, I do have one under item 2, Commissioners warrants. The new amount, we had one change. New amount is $252,819. $252,819.69. The minor error on a mileage reimbursement.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, that's the only adjustment I have to the agenda.
thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Sure.
There's support for that?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That carried. I will move to the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of 11/26/24, 12/3/24, TNT meeting of 12/3/24. Approve commissioners warrants of $252,819.69. Approve auditors warrants of 12/6, 12/13. Approve hospital warrants, $296,505.18 and $381,983.78. And approve November 24 treasurer's report.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
Thank you. Is there support for that?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on those consent agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That carried. Nick Bergman, Highway Engineer. Morning, Nick.
Morning.
First item I have today would be a request to purchase some cutting edges. Typically I make a recommendation, but I didn't on this one because I didn't know which way to go. If you look at the three bids we got, rather competitive. And it's a little bit cheaper, is 7+ weeks out, and it's a tariff charge is pending on that, which will go up by whatever percentage that is, or they're saying.
25 or more.
Right, which would make them not very competitive anymore. The one from Equipment Blades, we get that in about half the time, and that price is good until Thursday. So if we went that route, they're what, $2,600 more, whatever that is. But that's not going up. This other one, they can't.
You know, excuse me, do you have enough on hand to go 7 weeks? That's a long time.
It is a long time. So I would probably lean towards the 4-week one, but we can get that in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
bulk price in Sioux Falls would not be, it'd be the,
The higher price. Yeah.
yeah. So there's really no clear cut answer. If I had to make a recommendation, I would probably say to go with Equipment Blades, get them sooner, not have to worry about the tariff stuff, but I'd be fine trying the other way too. I really.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for the cutting edge purchase with Equipment Blades for $49,923.10.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Yes, I will second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? They must have them on hand, so that's why they can guarantee.
That or they're in the
price.
States.
4 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
I can't remember the exact explanation, but they said, nope, that's good if you lock it in by Thursday, so.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
Then the next is just a little FYI, I'll be coming back soon to set a date for our annual gravel crushing project, so. Wasn't quite ready for this meeting, so it's not on there, but it's on the short list, so just so you know, that's coming. And then that's it for me until the bid opening at 10:30, unless anybody has any questions.
I get it. I don't know if this is coming up later. Are you going over the production tax that we got in our packet, or is anybody going over that?
No, Doug, I put that in there just for your information.
Have you seen that?
No.
The statute on the
Yep.
gravel crushing and then how much the county's getting, how the formula all works. You know, if you want to put that on a future meeting to talk about that, it's just,
I can.
I don't know, Nick, to me, if you could kind of check with some of the counties you're familiar with, the differences in what they're getting. I don't know how much goes out of other counties. Maybe if you can talk with some of them or something,
You mean how
just to
much
get.
revenue they're,
Well, I mean, there's a big difference in some of these, but I have no idea how much gravel they produce or anything, so.
like, I believe, I don't think Murray County has much.
Well, and that's what I mean, just if you could, if there's a big price difference in Murray County, doesn't produce as much, then just think about it. If you can talk to some of them.
Do you have a copy of that? What's in our packet? Nick?
should, okay.
Okay.
Another question I would have about it is there a lot less production in recent years? Because it seems like, in the late teens and 20, we had a lot bigger numbers than we've had in the 2020s. But yeah, just something you can,
Wouldn't think so. But
I wouldn't think.
I don't know how I would check that either, though.
Right.
You think it'd be more almost, wouldn't you, in a way?
Well, yeah, because they, as other counties or sources are being depleted, you would think that ours would go up then.
Right.
I think the auditor sent a letter out to all the producers a number of years ago, kind of reminding them to it's time for that again.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, as an example, 23's number was about a third of 2019's.
This is what's reported to the state.
Right.
How many producers do we have quarrying gravel in the county? 6, 7?
Probably, yeah.
I wonder if you could incorporate it possibly with your road and bridge hearing that we have, or separately, but it'd be kind of nice, all of the gravel miners together. Talk to them about how this works and their responsibility for self-reporting and how it's in their best interest to continue to do it the way we have. Instead of us coming up with a whole bunch of cumbersome rules, it'd be, if they could have a discussion about that. A little more.
Yeah, I'll try to look back and see the letter out or the auditor did. I don't remember what it all said. I think I just remember hearing it.
Yeah,
That is a way to make sure that people were
yeah, I'm
doing
aware of it.
Yeah.
But
So,
I know for myself, it'd be more impactful. Letters in the mail are anonymous or whatever, not, but I think just getting them all together and having a discussion with all of them. A good idea, if possible, maybe it's not feasible, I don't know.
yeah, okay, I'd have to think about that, how we do that, but. Okay. Any other questions for me? Otherwise, that's all I had for today. Plow stuff's on and ready to go, so. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Excuse me.
Where do you want to head?
HR updates, you ready?
She's ready.
Got,
Morning.
Morning, Gary.
All right, so I think I'll start with the HR personnel updates first. So highway maintenance worker position that we posted closes tomorrow. 4 applicants so far, 3 of those have CDLs. We won't conduct interviews until next year. And I think there's a couple stragglers that are gonna come in person. So that's going well. The Personnel Committee will be meeting about updates to Wayne Drew's existing position, what that's gonna look like for the future so that we can get some market. We need to update the job description. It's been 15 years, so. So we're working on that today after this meeting.
Is that how long Wayne has been in that position? 15 years?
Is it 11 or
I think
15?
8.
I think he's
Oh, okay.
Well, it's been 15 since the job description's been
Oh, okay.
looked at, so it's been a while and there's a couple items of note. So also I have been compiling and have a spreadsheet of other counties, what they're calling their person who handles their facilities, how much their pay is and what their main duties are. So I have a nice comparison for the group to go over. So we'll finish that up and then probably next meeting, there will be a job description for you guys to approve. Then we have request for board action on the review process. So we worked with department heads to kind of compile the most efficient review process that we could create. We've never really had a walkthrough on what our philosophy is on the reviews and why we do them. So I put together something that I've had at other places I've worked and then customizing it for us. I had one typo that Luke graciously found and pointed out, so I'll fix that. But I'm asking for you guys to take a look at these documents and approve them so we can start using them in 2025.
The chair, I'd move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. How has the feedback been from department heads?
Well, they want it to be as simple as possible. It's a painful process, but there's a reason why we do it.
Oh, yeah.
We need to keep the team engaged and we need to thank them for what they do and recognize what they do.
Recognize the good ones too.
Help them grow and challenge them. So that's why there's goals and projects listed on there. To me, page 1 is kind of what the union requires. It's the check mark, but the backside is where the real information, communication and trust building between direct report and supervisor comes into play.
We need to take action on this.
Yes, please.
We're asking for you guys we don't want to use a process that isn't vetted and approved by this commission.
Chair, I move that we approve.
We have a
We
motion and
did
a
that
second on
earlier.
the floor.
Question.
Hey, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That carried.
The next request for board action is for the 2025 non-union pay plan. Guess there's not a ton to discuss here. I wasn't really involved in the market adjustment and things, but this to get our COLA and everything fixed for next year. Also asking for board approval on this. The pay plan's been posted for a year, so it's on the drive for everyone to see.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would request that let's hold off on taking action on this until we do all the salaries and the budget and the levy all together. That's our customary procedure, so that you approve the budget, then we approve the pay plan. If
Okay.
that makes sense. That's kind of our procedure going forward. So
Okay.
can we wait and do that?
We can wait.
I saved that for the last event of the day.
Yes.
Okay, so you actually take COLA for the 12-25 payroll, or sorry, January.
Yep.
So we'll meet before then and
It'll
get
be
this
done. We do
officially
it
done.
this morning. We'll do it it's the last item on the agenda today.
Okay. Saw this in and was like, I think that's all I've got. Questions for me?
Thanks, Gary.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Gary? Thank you.
And I can do the obligation of remaining ARPA funds. Just buried deep into the fact as well. The very last things before you get to vouchers and stuff like that.
Which one you on, Steve?
What's that? Single page request for board action at the very back, just before you get into the vouchers. Past
For?
budget and levy,
Oh. Oh, the AS 400, okay.
just a single page document.
Ta-da! I found mine.
When I put the packets together, I just kind of go back in whole order of kind of what they look like. So that's why that's at the very end, because it's kind of an other business. It's sometimes easier to way in the back. You can find it there. Pull it out in the middle someplace.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of papers for you today, if you noticed.
I'm gonna come someday
I
and
know.
shuffle them all.
Oh, oh.
Watch it, but it's on the paper.
Find it, Doug?
No, go ahead.
Looks like that.
No, I know what it looks like. Go ahead.
Approve delegating remaining ARPA funds. Requesting use of 35,000 for the new AES 400 computer and $43,712.28.
I read it. I'm fine.
Good?
No, I read it. I'm fine.
Okay.
Does that cover the full cost of AS 400?
Yes. Yeah, according to Bill, it will cover it. If you read through this thing, this is something the feds put together. They sent it out earlier, a few months ago, what was going on with it. And finally got the last $30,000 obligations that we did to our small cities. They used most of that. There was a few of them that had a little left over of that. But I confirmed with the auditor's office what we had left in the balance, and we have $78,712.28. And I put on here, we do not want to send it back to the federal government. Want to use it. So I did get a hold of Terry over at Woodstock Communications, and he's willing to put together an invoice and a project so we can use part of the money there. And Bill does have a need to use funds for an AS 400 coming up. So figure with those two items, we can pretty much clear the rest of the ARPA funds. We have to obligate the funds. So the motion today to obligate the funds to this project. And I will get the invoices in as quickly as possible because I do have to have copies of those by the end of the year also. But as it says there, we don't have to have the money spent until December 31st of 2026. I don't see that as being an issue, but we have to obligate it by the end of this year. So I just want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases on it. So,
Doesn't have to be spent this year. It just has to be obligated.
correct. That is correct.
And you need invoices for that, I guess.
Yes, invoices, purchase orders, that type of thing, or contracts.
Yeah, I'd move for approval.
There's a second for that?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried. Thanks, Steve, for. Did I see Amanda sneak in? You're up.
Morning.
Morning, Amanda.
For new tax, we got an application for another, new home tax abatement. We actually we got a different one, but I'm waiting on that one because they're not planning to build until spring. So because of the process and timing of building permits and stuff, we'll wait a few months for that one. But this one, which is for Jose and Teresa Lopez, they are planning to kind of get going as soon as possible. So we are submitting that one with the normal process. We've got the application. I sent that to you along with the building permit already in the plans, and then the estimates. So we're looking at estimated annual abatement on this property as is, and using the 2024 tax rates came up at 1,140 per year. Again, that's using the 24 rates. And yeah, the application looks complete, sent it to the assessors, reviewed it, and so our procedure today would be to just schedule the public hearing, which we were looking at January 7th at 10 o'clock.
Just to remind people, that's only for 3 years, correct?
Yes.
So after that, it goes up to the full rate again.
Yeah, and they pay the taxes at the full rate. And then at the end of the year, you're the county share on the whole, not any land or anything. And just send a check back for just county share as an abatement.
Any other questions? And this is in the city limits of Pipestone?
Yeah, this is in the Southwest Acres. Is that what it's called?
Mhm.
And that's that other one that I have, that I'm waiting on because they're not gonna start till spring over in that.
Okay. Nice.
Mr. Chairman, it's in the same development area as Ryan Mealbrooks. Remember when we did that
Okay.
one? That same area. It's out by Coburn's.
It's not in the school, former school.
No,
property.
no.
We only had that one.
Yeah, because I believe the other ones that are being built there, because there's a couple of the projects there. I think those are spec, so they don't qualify, I don't think, for the rebate program.
Did not get any other applications.
Applications, yeah.
Hey, anybody want to make a motion?
That we approve the tax abatement for this 901 9th Avenue Southwest.
Is there support for that?
We'll second it.
Actually, we're just scheduling the public
Public
hearing.
hearing.
The public hearing for it, yes.
Amend the motion to state that back.
Public hearing, clarify that, yes, it's for the public hearing. That public hearing is set. What was the
January
date?
5th.
10 a.m. January 7th.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried. Anything else for us? Thanks. Anything else we can address that's not time sensitive?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, we've already done those.
What about Bill?
Wait,
Times,
we're
but
way too efficient.
Did we get Bill in to do that IT purchase?
thanks if you.
At least if he's around.
That's not the only other thing. I think we can move on.
Steve, at our SMOC meeting last night, Darcy had mentioned, for the homeless prevention aid, there's some documentation. I thought we took care of that the last meeting, or didn't we? Or is there a resolution that we have to do? I thought we were, yeah, I thought we were all up to speed on that. Hi, Bill.
Good morning.
Morning, Bill.
I've got a quote from Know. This will be continuing the program that we have been going, for another 3 years. And that's what we're coming off right now. This is the pricing, so we're good. Co-op. Be working pretty good. A lot of places before. So this is our latest fishing tests that we send out to everybody, and then the compliance training, security awareness training. Any questions about it?
We won't have to pay the tax, correct? Yeah.
I'm without the tax.
For 3 years is that correct? Yeah.
Have they been sending out many lately? I haven't seen any, otherwise I've missed some.
We're right in the transition right now
Okay.
between campaigns. They're called campaigns. Fish.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't want to be missing any.
Yeah.
and then-
All right.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
Okay, is there support?
Yes.
Support by Dan. Any other questions or comments for Bill?
Seems to be a good program.
Yep.
And security is still important.
Very important.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That carried.
Thank you.
I still get the text messages that I got a package at the post office I gotta come get.
Right.
That's just crazy, isn't it?
Those are real ones.
Mr. Chairman, there's some good sessions at the conference last week on cybersecurity, MCIT, CISA was, but MCIT has paid out over $1.6 million in cybersecurity claims in the 23-24 year. Second only to claims for damage to property. It's just growing like this. And it's misdirected and phishing payments and things like that. So it's serious. It's not going away, and it's only going to probably get worse.
Pervasive.
So everything that we're doing, we see a lot of money being spent, but that's why we're doing it, to protect ourselves, because we are being constantly, not just us, everyone is being attacked.
I probably went to the same one, or either talk about how many claims they paid and managed service provider they talk about a lot. And one thing that struck me is there's honor among thieves. If you pay the ransomware, they'll give you the key to uncrypt your files. That surprised me. You know, you think that they got the money, they aren't gonna do nothing, but they do.
So they can do it again later.
Well,
You trust them, right?
so you trust.
Yeah.
No one would ever pay if they knew they didn't give you the key back, so. Any other highlights from the county convention? It's not on our list, but we got a couple minutes here.
I came home sick. I got a bad cold. You can hear it in my face right now. I still have it.
I talked to a guy
Did you get
yesterday.
it?
No,
Oh
I
my
didn't.
God, I did.
But there was,
500 people in the room, imagine that.
talked to a guy yesterday, our commissioner yesterday, same thing. Got sick when he was there.
Terrible, but I couldn't lay down. I'd lay down and I'd start coughing and hacking, so I'd sit up and he'd finally stop. But I'm much better now.
No, I thought the sessions I went to were very helpful for real life stuff, real stuff that we're dealing with. Surveying the markers thing, that was good. I asked him a few questions and he did answer them, so.
Good.
Ask him, how do you put a square grid on a round world? He had an answer for that, so.
I see that AMC has got a commissioner training in January. Two of them are virtual and the ones in person, have you guys thought about any of those at all, or?
That's new commissioner training, isn't it?
Well,
One of them is that 101.
one of them is 101, the
Yeah.
others are for ongoing as well,
Yeah,
too.
that's new, Commissioner.
Yeah. I can't remember if there was a fee for those online ones or not, I don't know.
I don't recall either. I don't.
I went to the XL Energy one and the lady that led that was smooth. She had given that presentation 100 times before. And he didn't like the answers the questions I had for her, but talked about abatement or curtailment for wind. He says, "Oh, you from Murray County?" I said, "Nope." So she must have gotten that question before, so.
And we have seen that in our
Oh.
wind power money that's coming in. It's been
In our-
fluctuating.
We don't rely on it as heavily as Murray County does, though.
No,
I think the best one I went to was managing the public at public hearings.
it was good.
Lady lawyer had newer stuff and she answered the questions right off.
It'd be a good one to hire.
Oh, yeah, I want her as my lawyer if I ever need it. Casey is next. We're expecting a lot of people at the cannabis hearing.
I have no idea.
No idea. But that has to stay at 10 o'clock, right?
Yep, that has to be at 10.
Why don't we take a short break then until Casey comes?
Oh.
There we go. Now we're back in session.
They're gonna be all
Part of the plan. Welcome Casey Siebert, Emergency Manager Director.
Morning.
Floor is yours.
All right, so this is kind of the Pipestone County Hazard Mitigation Plan that we started a couple months ago. Signed some of the documents just to get the ball rolling on it. Excuse me. We just heard back from FEMA last week. Just the application part is to even get moving on updating the plan is a process in itself. But we heard back from FEMA last week and our application to update it has been approved, which means FEMA has approved the funding. It's at 75 and we're 25% local match, which should be easily reached with in-kind funding and whatnot, meeting attendance and work. But anyways, today I'm here because the state HSEM has their state and local contract agreement, just basically stating that we work together with everything on it. It kind of breaks it down a little bit in there. And then we'll sign it, they'll sign it, and then hopefully we can get rocking on our hazard mitigation plan update.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Okay, is there support for that?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? This is an ongoing thing or is this a one-time thing or
Hazard mitigation plan is to be updated every 5 years.
5 years?
Casey, according to the contract, we'll get 34,510
Yes,
and we pay 11,721.60, right?
correct.
Perfect.
Yep, and University of Minnesota Youth Spatial is who basically the state contracts for everybody to update
what
their
it is.
plan. They're very well versed in this. They just did the whole state hazard mitigation plan that's on the website if you want to do any Googling and whatnot. But yep, and that was what their quote was for. It was the 35 4,510 is their part. So
Is this related to the FEMA event or not?
some of the funding to do, or like the federal funding to do the plans and whatnot is related to the FEMA event. That's why you'll see on here the 4722, the DR 4722. They kind of attach, I think federally, to my understanding, like when there are significant events like this, they, I mean, put out money to do hazard mitigation planning and projects and whatnot. Because the whole premise of the hazard mitigation is to try to prevent more damage in the future. And that's why we have to have an active plan also. I know some of like the townships have used it previously and some of the other events, they'll use it to put like riprap along culverts or to enlarge culvert size and whatnot. For, to help.
Clean ditches and make the culverts bigger and things like that.
Yep, things to try to prevent more damage with future events.
Some of those things happen repeatedly. And all the gravel ends up in the ditch in the field and put more on. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
But if I could get you, Dallas, to sign it and then Steve, you sign it as well, and then I will, and then I'll get it uploaded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir Ron will sign it right now for you.
This one if you.
Want a single page one or double page, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
The original or- It doesn't matter. It's just printed off, so.
Thanks, Casey. There any preparation we need to do for the public hearing? But yeah, but do we have to put the,
County attorney should be here.
put up the podium?
I'll to come up here. One, two, three, test, one, two, three.
We need any ground rules, time limits, things like that?
They give everyone about 3 minutes to speak.
Yep.
A ton, but
Just so people have that.
Yep.
Expectation that at some point in time, that'll be. We want to hear what the people have to say, but. County attorney is gonna come. Borrowing some of the county's electricity. I forgot to plug my phone in this.
Cyber security is over.
TBT. Just because they're hosting so many counties. Data and everything. and stuff like
That
that.
really sounds like a good idea.
Everybody needs it anyway.
That's so pervasive.
Okay. Can we do it without them? I have 10 o'clock. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into a public hearing to discuss the new cannabis regulations.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? That's what we're here for, I guess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, the public hearing is open for the cannabis ordinance. We have a draft copy in front of us. Did you distribute some, Steve, to?
Yeah, if there are copies available to the public back there, if they want a copy of that. Are there enough? Did anybody not get one that wants one? Rip some more out if we need to. Okay,
Who gets to kick it off?
I think Kyle and I will probably tag team this as much as we can. Is that all right, Kyle?
Yep, that's fine.
County's been working on this for several months now, with a lot of help from Health and Human Services and a lot of counties around us trying to figure out what to do. And honestly, it still feels like this is in flux and we're still chasing our tails on it. And we'll have this, and I believe we'll come back and revisit it at some point in the future too.
Because the state doesn't have its own ducks in a row all
Some degree, they're still working on their processes as well too, and having issues with some of it as well, but we've got to start with something, so we need to come back and amend it. We will do so and go through the hearing sessions again and make sure that we're doing it properly for the public.
And if I'm correct, we did not generate this ourselves. We borrowed it from the template from,
This
This is ours, yeah.
This is a template from multiple counties, and Health and Human Services really put this together for us. Southwest did a real good job of putting it together and trying to work with the counties. Counties are tweaking it in different ways and different methods depending on what their needs of their counties are and what, how they want to manage it as well. But the smaller counties, I think, were leaning on the draft ordinance that Health and Human Services did put together. And as you do go look through this here, this is not a full clean copy of this yet. This is still, it's a work in progress. And there will be some changes to it, but everything that we put on here now. And matter of fact, I just got a note about another change they'd like to add, Health and Human Services add to this as we're moving forward too. So, but so really what this comes down to is it's putting the county involved of managing cannabis within the county of Pipestone, and then within those cities and townships that wish the county to take over the management of the ordinance so that they don't have to. To date, I can tell you that the cities of Edgerton, Jasper, Holland, and Ruthven have provided resolutions having the county take care of the cannabis management in their jurisdictions. And the townships of Etna, Altona, Burke, Eden, Gray, Sweet, and Troy have returned resolutions as well. So those are the ones we have in so far, and we'll continue to take those in as they come in and have their meetings.
those are in the work. That's the work in progress, right?
That's a
The
work
back
in
page.
progress, right? So that is not a full list of them. So I want to make sure that the board is aware of that, the public's aware of that too, that we do not have all of the resolutions back.
Not necessarily that they said no, but it's just that they haven't
They
responded
haven't
yet.
responded or had meetings to discuss it at their own council or township levels yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, welcome on that. Hal, you want to kind of walk through should we walk through the ordinance with them?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go in, page by page, but it kind of is a summary of the entire ordinance, and it's a little bit confusing too. It basically just identifies the auditor treasurer's office as the responsible entity for registering any facility that would be coming into the county. And probably the biggest thing on the ordinance is that it sets a threshold of the one retail store for the 12,500 people. So the county will only have one. As far as the zoning part of it, it's a little confusing because we will zone in the townships, but we are not going to zone in the cities. The statute was written in a fashion that it's going to basically require if if a retail store wanted to come into a city, they would be able to locate in any location that other retails would be located. So in the county's ordinance that we drafted here, we basically allowed it as a permitted use in highway commercial districts. And in the ag district, it would be a permitted use to grow. So that's kind of how we wrote the ordinance to basically allow the facilities as statute intended in those permitted districts where retail would be otherwise located.
One retail is allowed, but how many growers are allowed?
There is no limit on growers. The
No
state,
limit on growers.
the state is gonna regulate the number of permits. My knowledge, but I don't know the details on that. So, but we do not have a cap on growers. We're not expecting a lot because they're very expensive facilities. But they would fit in the ag district as a permitted use. They're likely gonna be under roof. And there's state requirements that would require air filtration and other security type measures to be in place in order to meet those requirements. So we're not doing anything more than just basically following what statute is requiring.
And there are, to my knowledge, looking at the state's information, there are 13 different license types available. And the counties would be working with 5 of those. And the first one is called a mezzo business, which works with less than 10,000 pounds annually, has 3 retail locations, 15,000 square foot of indoor canopy, and is vertically integrated license. The other is called micro business, which is less than 3,000 pounds annually, 1 retail location, 5,000 square foot of indoor canopy, vertically integrated license, on-site consumption is allowed. Retail could be up to 5 different locations, and that's direct sales to consumers. Next one is lower potency hemp edibles retailer, and that would be 1 location. And the last one is the medical cannabis combination business, which is less than 50,000 pounds annually. 2/3 of that must be used for medical market. There's 1 retail location per congressional district, allows for multiple cultivation locations and direct sales to consumers. I don't honestly see that happening here, but the other ones could possibly be retail types of licenses that we'd be dealing with. That's based on the information that this state has given us on that.
Just another one under manufacturing. We don't know all of the details on that, but that would be a conditional use permit that we would require. So if someone did want to build a manufacturing facility in the county, we would go through the planning commission, through the hearing process, and have the ability to put conditions on that to mitigate any concerns that the public might have.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of it is just wait and see what happens and kind of make adjustments as needed.
And as far as who does what in it, on page 2 under enforcement 1.4, Pipestone County Auditor Treasurer's Office will be responsible for processing registrations. Registrations will go to the state first. The state will then notify us through their online portal of any registrations that are coming our way or interest, as I understand it at this point anyway. Also the Pipestone County Sheriff's Office, also be working with public health. Sheriff's Office will be working with licenses, violations, and also inspections, and then also using the same thing they use in tobacco, which is bringing in a underage person to attempt to buy. Those types of things.
Inspections was once a year, if I remember right, and
At least a minimum once a year. Other counties have gone further at that and are doing, Luke mentioned Washington County is going to be doing one every 3 months in their ordinance.
Or 3 times a year.
Or 3 times a year.
And then there will be fees also associated with the registration process, which, are you bringing that up at a later date, Steve, for the board to take action on?
We'll have to do that at a later date on a fee schedule, but we can do it as half of the rate of what we can we can charge for it. So the businesses or persons wishing to go into business have to contact the state first. That's where all licensing starts. Then if there's one that comes our way, then we can look at it from there. And if any city or township wishes to do their own and not have the county do it, once that comes here, they would have to sign up at the state's portal too, so they get the information to see if they're gonna have any licenses going there as well. For the county fees, the retail, the cannabis micro business, our application fee would be $250 and a $1,000 license renewal fee. The cannabis mezzo business, that's a retail sales. The initial cost for us, application fee would be $500. Initial license fee would be $500 and a renewal would be $1,000. This is all based on a 50% difference or less of what the state charges. So the state fees are much higher than these, but based on what the fees that we can get based on the legislation. Cannabis retailer is also a county issued one. The application for the county level would be $500. The initial license fee would be $500 and a renewal would be $1,000. And the low potency hemp edible retailer, that would be for retail sales. Application fee would be $250 and the initial license fee is $250 and the renewal would be $250 as well. The medical cannabis combination business, that's the medical one. Ours would be $500 for the app and the initial fee would be $500 and then the renewal would be $1,000 based on what this state is telling us we can charge for these.
So we can charge fees and licenses, but we
Just
cannot.
local fees. The fees to the state are way higher.
Yeah.
Extremely higher. Like the last one I mentioned, the medical cannabis, the initial application fee to the state is $10,000. The initial license fee is $20,000 and the renewal is $70,000 at the state level. So they have a much higher fees for that since they're running the program.
So we can regulate it, but we cannot ban one entirely. That's my
correct.
understanding. The legislature made that in the law that they have to allow at least one for 12,000 people.
And a municipal store does not count against the one.
Does not count against.
So
the
if there would be a municipal store anywhere in the county, we would still have the ability to issue one county license.
Are they allowed to sell cannabis and alcohol in the same building? It has to be a separate building.
Not to my knowledge, I don't believe that's the case. You can do that in the same building. Kyle, do you have anything more to add at this point? I don't have anything else at this point to add either.
The low potency stuff is a kind of a different ballgame. The infused drinks or whatever, the bars can do that. Is that,
My knowledge, that's already in some cases been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Low potency drinks and that type of thing sold in liquor stores, that type of thing. They do have to get a permit, as I understand, from the state to sell those.
And the low potency is around already, but
Mhm.
does require that those facilities are registered.
hey, anyone from the public want to comment? Come on up. We can't hear you talk if you're way back there. You please state your name first and then,
David Floyd Johnson. Too many David Johnsons. I'm a child of the 60s. And I remember the Russians saying they would get us hooked on drugs and walk in and take over the United States without a shot. Now, this morning I learned that China said that too. And my druggist, when I told her that, she said, I believe you're correct. In health class, I was told that the drugs would affect any children I had in the future. Their genetics would be altered somewhat. And I think it goes like this with the kids. You ask yourself, how damn smart was grandpa? And how are the kids doing today for brain power? I do believe the county should be having legislation on how to raise hemp. As far as hemp oil, hemp for, there's many uses of hemp. It would destroy a lot of businesses like the tree pulp business and stuff. That's why we do not allow hemp. And in World War II, they grew it. And in Grandma's Grove, that one time, a bunch of it came back. Now, we don't know what that, it was from that or was some kids are having a party out there. And the money, there should be no fees at all on it if it is good for the public safety and the well-being of our county. But it sounds like some of the fees at the state are just fantastic,
Yes, they are.
and that's ridiculous. I would like to see that we don't have this in our county, but I was told as a kid that you could go to the parking lot in the school and get whatever you wanted. Okay, if marijuana is so good, then the county should be looking at adding fentanyl, cocaine. You know, we should have an outlet for that too. So, that's what, I'm against it being a child of the 60s. And when I was born, my father was in a foxhole in Korea. So when they said take over the United States, it meant a lot to me. Because I very easily could have not had my father. So you guys got a heavy burden, and I hope you turn out the best. And just remember, the legislature will be in session again, and maybe they can undo what they have done.
That's coming up, I guess legislature starts in January, so.
Yeah, maybe we can get rid of this.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, everyone. I'm Dan Delaney, the mayor of Pipestone. And I just wanted to point out that the city of Pipestone has not delegated cannabis registration to Pipestone County, and we will not be. We have staff on hand, and we will do.
Okay.
I would also appreciate the fact that you did limit the regulations for licensing to one in addition to the municipality. I think anything more than that would be overwhelming for a county our size. And we have also limited it to one for the city of Pipestone in our proposed ordinance. Will be, the ordinance was introduced last night at our meeting, and we'll be voting on it at a special meeting this Friday. So it will be in place before the first of the year.
Luke?
Is the city planning to have a municipal?
No decision has been made at this point, but that's always an option. Well, thank you for your work on this. And again, I'd like to point out that this is something the state of Minnesota dropped on all Pipestone County, or on the counties and the cities. And really, we don't have much authority to limit it other than the amount of licensing, and we can't zone it out of our area at this point anyway.
There are some zoning limitations though, right? As far from
Yeah.
school and parks and things like that.
Right. There is an option there for a buffer zone, and the maximum for a school is 1,000. The maximum for a daycare is 500, and the maximum for parks is 500 feet. And the county and the city, of course, would have the right to reduce that buffer zone, but we can't expand it. And that's one of the questions that we are still dealing with, how does that limit our community with those current buffer zones as they? But thank you for your work on this, and I just wanted to put it on the record that the city of Pipestone will be managing this on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on in.
Hello, my name is Joel Farrington. I'm the city clerk of Edgerton. A couple questions here. Number one, is there an application for all that
Pardon me, what are you asking for?
so it's my understanding that the initial state and then it's allocated to the county. Is that
We
correct?
haven't, right, we haven't heard of any requests for Pipestone County that I'm aware of.
No, we have not.
Regarding the current ordinance, the only thing that kind of jumped out here is it seemed like the 500 feet within a park seemed a little short with just west 1,000 feet, similar to a school. That jumped out. And then other ideas just to start the conversation. The output for anything cultivation indoors, hydroponic related. For a community, we'd be concerned about the output, just the nitrogen level. If it goes into our system, that could kill the microbes. And then if we're talking about, let's say like a butcher house, slaughterhouse, or anything like that, there's always a smell. Well, if you travel, you drive by these places out in other states, you can tell when you're near any sort of grow house. It's very apparent. That's about it that I've got on my notes here.
Smell is addressed in one of these. Couldn't give you the one right off the top of my head, but
It's something I don't feel we're gonna be the ones regulating that. That's written into the state statute where it requires air filtration. To what level or extent, I don't know the details on that.
Okay.
But as far as your comment on the setback distances, so 500 feet from a park, like the mayor from Pipestone stated, that is the maximum that the statute allowed.
Okay.
So we can't increase that more than that. But there again, I mean, for like city of Edgerton, I mean, if you wanted to, I don't know if you're zoning, if you've got something in your zoning that you're gonna say some uses can be put here or there, that's something you could do as a city, which the county won't really, we don't have jurisdiction in the city limits, so you have to allow them, but you can specify where you're going to allow them if there was ever a facility proposed in the city.
okay, thanks, Joel. Next.
Skip by, City of Woodstock. We will more than likely not be signing your paper. If I consider Woodstock kind of dying. If some business would like to come to Woodstock and put one of these in and give us some funding for Woodstock, that would be amazing, and I think you guys would take that opportunity away from. Woodstock will not be signing your paper. Thank you.
Just a comment for you, for information purposes, a facility could locate in the city even though you delegate. So basically what you're doing is you're delegating the responsibility for a facility to be registered to the county. So that way you don't have to take on that responsibility yourself. But by no means does this ordinance not allow a facility to be located in the city of Woodstock if they choose.
I don't feel.
Okay, so you're more concerned about the limitation.
Right, I feel you guys would limit it at one for the county.
Okay.
And Woodstock would not be where you'd want it. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying?
Yep, I understand that. So then is the city going to adopt
We
another?
will work on that and
Okay.
try to have something done by the first of the year.
Okay, sounds great.
Anyone else want to comment?
Alex Miller, City of Woodstock. So just piggybacking off the fees, with us not more than likely signing this, we would be responsible for our,
Yes, sir.
and do we have to follow the county's guidelines on that?
You can do it really whatever you want for your fee schedule, but
State fees?
there are specific guidelines that the state has set. There's a 50% limit on it. So basically what we're charging would be about the same you'd be charging to for the retail
We
facility.
could come up and pay the state fees and,
The state will collect their own fees and then you'll have your own license fees and then you'll also have to deal with making sure the checks are done for compliance checks are done. So contracting with the sheriff's department, your city would be doing all of your licensing and all of that. So,
but
yeah,
we would not have to follow your guys' fees.
right.
Anybody else?
If you'd like, I'd be happy to share a copy of the ordinance with you and you're welcome to cannibalize and use this any way you can. I can send it in digital format. It's a lot easier to work on, but yeah, when you get done, see me and I'll get your email address, okay? Perfect, thank you. So just to be clear for everyone, we're no means wanting to take this away from any township or city for what they want to do. We're just trying to make it as if it's the right word, easy as possible to do that we can all work together on it, but we're no means want to do
We're not
that.
banning.
We're not there's no banning, nothing like that. We're just trying to do the best we can for the county.
Anyone else? Any other comment from the public?
Mr. Chair, thoughts, if I may as well too, I'd like to address both Mr. Johnson and Mayor Delaney's. As you may know, that this is not anything that we sought out. In fact, through our AMC association over the last number of years, we've been told that this is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's when. This was a state decision. I personally do not like the fact that the state is telling us that we have to do this. We've got no choice. And in regards to the fees and so forth, the Woodside, I know you referred to it as the county's fee schedule. It is very, very strictly laid out to us by the state what we have to do. I am in no way in favor of this. You talk about our Southwest Health and Human Services. We work very, very hard at Health and Human Services for our young people with both drug and alcohol and tobacco education. And this just, in my opinion, is completely counter to the message we're trying to send out there. But that's all beside the point. We've got no choice. We've been told we will do this. So we are complying with the state's statutes on this. And we even thought at one time, well, okay, as some of the rules first came out, we said, well, fine. If we have to have one, then we'll maintain it as a county-owned facility. Well, that got shot down in a hurry because they said if the county owns one, you still have to allow another permitted one as well too. So that philosophy went out the door too. So there is, in my opinion, there is no local control over this. This has been mandated by the state that we will allow this and we've got no choice. So I just want to make it perfectly clear to everybody, my feelings. And it's nothing that we welcomed. In fact, if there's something we could do to dissuade this, I would love to do that. But other than working with our legislators, our hands are tied here.
Any other comment from the commissioners?
I just had a couple questions to, I guess more for clarity on page 11 under 3.4, the advertising piece. I'm just wondering when it says not to exceed 100 square feet for 2 signs, if we should put something like in total or each, or, you know, whatever. I wasn't real clear on whether that meant for each one or both, or
One word at the end, total would work.
yeah, it would. And then on the following page, under F number 1, it mentions that if you have this temporary event, except for low potency cannabis edibles, on-site consumption is prohibited. And on the next page, under 4.1.5, it says, on-site consumption during this temporary cannabis event, which occurs at a place of public accommodation, is permitted. I'm wondering if we need to clarify that would be only for low potency cannabis edibles. Since otherwise it's prohibited. Instead of saying on-site consumption of cannabis, have on-site consumption of low potency cannabis edibles during this event is permitted, because that's the only exception to it being prohibited.
Committee members, any?
I mean, otherwise they're in conflict.
Steve, can we?
Is it really necessary to have 4.1.5?
I don't know,
Be simpler just to scratch that?
maybe.
Because it's already stated, you mean?
Correct.
In F, or, yeah.
Unless you're wanting that clarity for use of public property.
Oh, sure.
It just seems like the two should either match up or not.
You mentioned that about saying, and
Right? I don't know, but I mean, if that's the standard for the app, or for the license, then. Right, you would. Right. I mean, the standard should be applied the same. And like in the zoning district 5.2, they spell out the low potency edibles are permitted.
I think before we strike this, I'd like to do a little more investigation of this and see what actually it's meaning. This did come from our friends at Health and Human Services, and they worked quite hard on this too. And I'm gonna see if I'm guessing it has something to do with the term public accommodation. If the person, organization, or facility allows it, that they would say, yes, you can do this here. Is what I'm thinking.
Can they do that?
That's what I don't know. Okay. So
No,
I'm just gonna I just put check on this.
Okay, just
Let's take a
wondering.
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only other thing I had is just on page 14 under 5.3.7, just a small typo in the last line, change how to who.
Say 537.
Yeah, in the last line.
For public's clarification, there is a subcommittee of this board and other concerned people that is working on this. You want to run down that list of people again? It's
Kyle and I, Doug's on it and Chris is on it.
The main Sandy.
Sheriff Freeman Domain is on it. Also got Health and Human Services. We got Jen is on it, helping us on from Health and Human Services.
Mike Heyman.
And Mike Heyman, yeah.
Chief Deputy Hammond.
Yep, Chief
Yep.
Deputy, yep. And Amanda from the auditor's office, so she'll be doing the, taking in the licensing and collecting the fees for like.
So there are good people working on
Yeah,
this.
we've
So
really, we've worked hard on this thing. It's like, and it's like, we all said, it's like, it's like taking a drink out of a fire hose. To be honest with you, it's just mind boggling, and it's changing too.
but just so we have something in place by 1st of January, correct?
Yes.
We can amend it after the fact, if it needs to be. Any other public comment? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there support for that? Good. Thank you, Luke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's carried. Thank you for showing up and telling us your views.
Is anyone, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll share anything I've got with you, and everything here is wide open. We'll share ordinance, anything we get, I'll be happy to work with. Kyle will too. All of us, the county level, will do anything we can to help anything you need. So don't hesitate to reach out.
And feel free to reach out to your legislators.
Yeah,
and
please.
if you want them to make some changes or
They
make
set
this
it
go
up.
away, then, you know, they're the ones you need to talk to.
Will this be coming back to the board at a later date? Final approval?
We need a cleaner copy too. I think,
Thanks.
yeah, we need to bring it back.
I was just curious. I just want to clarify
Yeah.
what the intents or plan is.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring this back. I do have one addition too, that I got an email yesterday from Health and Human Services to item 1.2, authority and jurisdiction, to make sure that we add Minnesota statute, chapter 145, that that's the public health authority statute. So we want to make sure that's in there with all the other statutes. So we'll want to add that to that as well.
Do we have a time frame in which we have to adopt an ordinance by?
I believe it's January 1st.
Okay. If we're gonna have a cleaner copy, then do we need to have another public hearing for it, or is that stuff we can take without a public hearing? Or do we need to set a public hearing today for it because of our limited time frame?
I don't think you
I
need to
don't
hold
know.
a
I don't think we
public,
do.
you don't need to hold a public hearing during the adoption. You just needed to hold a public hearing before you can adopt something.
Okay.
Right, thank you. You're right.
We've had that public hearing now, so.
Right. Yeah.
Now we move forward, change it and finish it.
Or we
And
can have
then-
another meeting before 1st of January.
We're gonna have to adopt it as is.
Adopted draft, you mean, or?
Amended after the fact, at least
Yeah.
when it's in place before the beginning of the year.
Here, come forward.
Come on ahead. State your name.
I'm the community public health supervisor at South. There are a couple of things that I think need to be moved around, and if you add the 145A, the county can regulate buffers throughout the whole county under the Public Health Authority Statute 145A. So if place some buffer restrictions under 145A, then it is enforceable throughout the entire county, whether a city has their own ordinance or not. So they wouldn't be able to override those. So I think there's a couple of things that need to be moved around so that it's a little bit clearer for the city. I can help.
Okay. That'd be great.
Thanks, Ann.
But the main legal question, can we adopt the ordinance today? Might want to come up here, please. Can we adopt the ordinance today and then do additions or corrections to it as we move forward?
Gotta get done by the end of the year, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're just gonna have to go through,
We have to have another hearing.
change the ordinance or the wording. You should, just to get it all transparent.
Is that additional statute required, or is that?
And do you recall that?
Is the addition of that state statute required, or is that optional?
Under 145A?
Right.
It's optional to use 145A.
Yeah.
We have most of our counties that are listing it right at the front that we can, it essentially says under these Minnesota statutes, 342, 145A, all of the statutes, the zoning statutes were allowed to make the following regulations. So it's really just listed at the top, what authority you're using to
do we want to do that though?
That's the question. Yeah, that's.
I guess if a city wants to be less restrictive, I think that should be their option.
That's the,
Right.
I think that's probably the number one concern that we're hearing. Too close to residential areas, that there's smell concerns, that anytime we increase access, you increase use, and public health's main concern is the use by youth. So we just know science says that if you increase advertising near a school, you're use by youth. So that's one of the best things that you can do. On if you.
So if we were to put in Minnesota statute 145 under the Public Health Authority, then would that, us doing this affect any city or township that wanted to do their own ordinance and own licensing? Or what, does ours trump
It would
the
just
cities?
state, if you stated that you wanted it enforceable throughout the entire county, then it would be enforceable throughout the entire county. If you wanted to allow any city that has their own delegation authority to create their own, then you could just delineate that in the ordinance. It wouldn't.
That would make more sense
Yes.
to me.
Yep.
That we want the cities to be autonomous and do their city and township. If they're gonna do that, I would think we'd want them to do that.
And they're gonna have to follow their own zoning rules anyway. So I
Right.
mean, I don't think that there's gonna be any retailers in a residential. I have full confidence that cities don't want that, and I have full confidence that any retailers that come into the county aren't there to sell to children. And so we want to work with both the cities and any retail.
Sure, well, so do we.
To recap then, so if we do change any wording in this ordinance, then we really should have another public hearing before we adopt it. And how long do we have to post a notice for a public hearing? Is it 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
And
They just push back the time. We just got an email yesterday. They're not anticipating applications.
I'm hearing June,
Yeah, that's kind of
but if do we fall out of compliance with the state if we do not enact this by the end of the year? Is that's the rub we're at right now. And if we can clean this up and go forward, maybe we better call the state, I guess. See what they know.
Is there any teeth in the ordinance that if the county does not enact this, then something bad is gonna happen?
No,
I think the biggest concern is if they would all of a sudden get their ducks in a row and send you 6 applicants that are approved through the state, then the county. I would.
But it's not likely any will be approved at least till February, March, April. So if we did it in January,
Last thing I saw is that they threw out the social equity whole process.
yeah,
And they're gonna start taking applications again in February for the lottery to be held, I believe, in May. For licenses possibly to go out in June was last I saw in their little bullet point on their
I think we got a
calendar.
newsletter.
Yeah, the
yesterday.
newsletter that came out, so I don't anticipate anything going on until summer, to be honest.
I think you'd be okay to do your due diligence, and have
Work through it.
a pretty
Have good,
clean ordinance and let the public know what it looks like before it passes.
yeah. Perfect. I'm still glad we had this first hearing. That's great. We need to do that. Now I'm glad we can have time to go work on this again and come back with a good workable copy that works for everybody too.
Helpful to know what cities are
Absolutely, yeah.
thinking and the cities need assistance.
Thanks.
So the subcommittee has more work to do.
Yep. Come back and go through it again.
Sure. Only one, no.
That's how I started out. Just one quick question. Well, just happened to think about this as far as, this is Minnesota state statute that's being presented to us. Really didn't have a chance to do anything with it. And said, it's being put down our throats and have to deal with it. However, if a local law enforcement agency or a county law enforcement agency, state law enforcement agency contacted a federal law enforcement agency, said, we have this federal violation going on, community, could you investigate it? Is that a possibility? And I thought I'd bring that up since our county attorney is here now.
That's the problem. It's all illegal federally.
Correct. So that's why if a local law enforcement agency requested their assistance, would they respond and what could they do?
So they could do nothing at the local level, because like the FBI and DA and US Marshal's office, everything they would have, they'd have to turn over to the US Attorney's office. And if the US Attorney's office would want to prosecute under federal law, that would be their option. And you can't stop someone from investigating. It's just how high up the totem pole is it on their importance meter?
So the point that I'm making is there is something we can do. And that would be something that we could do is ask for federal investigation and ask for federal prosecution.
And the odds are you're not going to get it. That's the odds are. The FBI and the DEA.
We know it's 100% odds if we don't try.
Yeah.
So if you do try something, you don't know how it's going to turn out until you do. So thank you.
Hey, moving on. Nick is here. There he is.
Take no action and bring the cannabis committee back together and clean her up.
And look over that Washington.
And we'll get, yep, I've got copies of the Washington ordinance too. There's some good things in there as well.
On to more mundane issues. Gas for promise?
It'd be easier.
Well, some of this gas has got alcohol in it.
I'm pretty sure that's regulated too.
All right, this is our fuel bid for the first half of fuel for 2025. As normal, gasoline can be awarded independent of diesel and diesel can be awarded to Pipestone shop independent of the outlying shop, so. We could have 3 different suppliers, but we only have 2 bids, so we do it the most, it looks like today. First bid is from BioAg. BioAg's bid for gasoline is $2.598 per gallon, 2.598. With a margin of 43 cents per gallon. 43 cents for the margin. BioAg's bid on B5 diesel at the Pipestone shop is $2.553 per gallon. 2.553. B20 at the Pipestone shop is also $2.553 per gallon. 2.553. Outlying shop fuel, B5. $2.653 per gallon, 2.653. And also B20 is 2.653. Margin for the Pipestone shop is 15 cents. 15 cents per gallon, and margin for the outlying shops is 25 cents per gallon. All right, next bid is from Chandler Co-op. All right, gasoline bid from Chandler Co-op would be $2.64 per gallon, 2.64 per gallon, with the margin of 0.385. 0.385 for margin. Diesel bid from Chandler Co-op. Pipestone Shop B5, their bid is $2.58 per gallon. B20 for the Pipestone Shop is also $2.58 per gallon. Outlying shops, B5, $2.68 per gallon. And B20 is also $2.68 per gallon. Margin for the Pipestone Shop is 15 cents. And margin for the outlying shops is 25 cents per gallon. That is all of our bids. Those are we usually only get two bids and those are the two, so no surprises for me there.
Recommendation, or you want us just to make a motion?
We've had good luck with both of them. I would just say to go with the low bid.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go with a little bit of bioag.
There's support for that?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Discussion. 43-cent margin kind of surprised me that it's that much higher than the other margins. But again, total gallons, you got 17,000 gallons, so you normally don't have to go out and buy extra, do you?
We've got a pretty long history of what we go through now. A lot of this is based on trying to guess the weather too.
Right.
We usually hit it right with how many tanker loads we order, so.
I am curious why the margin per gallon for the gasoline is so much higher than the margin per gallon for diesel, but that's the market, whatever. But yeah.
But they're both similar. If you look at it, they're both, so there's gotta be a reason for it and I just don't know it, but.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried. Bioag is the supplier. Now, Mr. Devane Sandy.
Want to discuss that joint powers thing?
Yep, I think that's next on our list.
Renewing what we already have in place. It is, just gives us the ability to access certain things.
You're happy with it?
Well, I don't know if I
You
call
find
it
happy.
happy, I'm not unhappy.
Do you find happy?
It's not something that brings me, extreme amounts of jubilation every time I think about it, but it works.
It works. Huh?
It works.
Sometimes that's the best we can hope for, right?
Is the only cost of $600?
Yeah, we just get an annual bill.
Yep.
And submit it, it's built into the budget, so.
Okay.
Chairman for approval.
Thank you. Is there support for that? There is support by Luke. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That carried.
I have to get up to the courtroom. Whenever the signatures get on that, I suppose that there's a spot for me to sign off too. My recollection is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm done with the calendar this afternoon, I'll just come down.
Down when you get.
I'll come down and we'll sign. Okay,
Stop down, I'll have them ready for you.
sounds good.
Can I ask you an off-the-wall question before you leave?
I can't stop you from doing that. Kevin.
Just don't answer if you don't wanna.
The cannabis situation where we're being told by the state we have to do states in the country that have counties that are dry for alcohol.
Mhm.
Prohibition has been ended, so the federal government allows, how does that work where you can have a dry county for alcohol, but here in Minnesota, we cannot have a smoke-free county for cannabis?
It would take a long time to answer that one about preemption, states' rights versus local rights and all that. Basically, most states don't push it down your throat that you have to allow liquor sales. That is something left to local regulation. In alcohol, they regulate that you can't have too many licenses. The licenses are based on, the amount of population in any given community. But the alcohol statutes don't say you shall allow alcohol sales from the state or federal level. And that's why there are dry cities and dry counties and all areas all around the southern and western United States. Because they are allowed local regulation to that effect. They don't have to give a license. If they choose not to give a license, that is their autonomy. So in our cannabis statute,
We don't have.
as written, it's remove the autonomy. Which in my opinion, is, it's a bad way of going about it. If they want to legalize it, basically, if the legislature want to do that, legalize it by removing the prohibition, allowing the retail sales, limiting, the number of establishments like alcohol, but don't mandate it. They don't mandate a lot of other things to do. So. Good enough?
Thank you.
Do you think that any counties would raise some?
You may see one or two, maybe three of the smaller counties might want to challenge it, but the thing is, at what cost? And that's the thing, if it's a smaller county, how much is the litigation going to cost, especially if you want to get a the local county attorney's offices in the small counties aren't going to do it because you would need very specific, very detailed research to be able to challenge the enactment of the legislation. I can't see any of the large counties wanting to do it because the revenue generation is going to be quite phenomenal in the top 10 populated counties across the state. I don't know what the other states have done. I've kind of kept myself in, my head buried in the sand when it comes to this a little bit. I haven't paid attention to Colorado, California, Washington, Oregon, any of the states that really started the trend. How they did it is beyond my scope of my knowledge.
We're up to 24 states that have legalized it now,
Mhm.
in one way, shape or form.
Yeah, it's just it's a growing trend.
Mr. Johnson had mentioned other drugs and so forth, harder drugs. And Oregon, state of Oregon also decriminalized hard drugs there. And they found out that it's been a huge mess for them and they're going to reinstitute the laws pertaining to opioid and heroin and harder drugs as well too. It didn't work so well for them.
Then on the flip side, you have countries like Holland that basically say, we are going to regulate all these drugs. But you can use them. That's the flip side too. And they don't have quite the problem that is predominant in the United States, as I understand it. So. it'll work out. You know, we already have legalized opium, cocaine, heroin products, all in the form of prescription medication.
That's right. Yep.
It's already out there. So we'll just see how it works out. Thank you. We're gonna get upstairs. Thanks. Yep, we'll see ya.
Sheriff Freeman and Chief Deputy Heyman, you're up.
Signing all these.
Use your stamp. Use your stamp.
Roll them all down so you don't have to put right things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mike.
You're the,
Thanks, Mike.
present all the city contracts for the county. Every year we have to do this.
Yep.
The small towns, Trotsky, Hatfield, Ruthven Island, Woodstock, Jasper and Edgerton, they didn't go up this year because if they were last year, they got a big jump because they got that 2-year funding increase. So I raised it, but that was the deal. We won't raise it for the next year. So they're all the same. Pipestone and Mike's been doing with Pipestone on this. So if you have any questions for him, they wanted a one lump sum instead of the dispatch and law enforcement side. And their numbers on here, it's up about 3%, or right around there. And then Holland, as of this time, has not signed yet. So otherwise, we got all the rest of them signed, ready to go. So
Move to approve the contracts.
Gave him one copy.
Okay.
yeah, well, sure. So
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. You get that,
And
Steve?
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
I move to approve.
Move to
Doug
approve.
seconded.
Doug second.
what this doesn't cover is we also, the county gets a lump sum of money that we send back to the towns every year. And that number changes every year. But like just a rough estimate, this year Holland got $4,000 back through us to help pay for this. So most of these are pretty good big percent that's actually paid for with the money we get that we send back to the state.
But the amount you got listed here is the contract. amount.
Contract.
So
No,
in their
that-
case, it'd be $4,000 less than this.
Right. And it depends on the population. So, obviously Hatfield wouldn't get 4,000, they probably 2,300 or whatever, so.
So in this case, then if they continue to go with their philosophy of not signing with us, then do they still get that $4,000? Or does that get absorbed by the other
No, they
the
won't
other
get that
towns?
next year.
So the other towns will get their portion of it.
However the county decides to put that out.
Always a year in arrears. I'm
Right,
looking
it's
to.
always paying in the late fall for that year. It's not for next year, it's for the
Right.
year.
So next year we get the money, Holland would get it for 24
Right.
since they had a contract, but
I
going
see.
forward from there, they would not.
It lags.
I understand it.
And we don't know what that number is gonna be every year. The state sends it and we don't know what that's gonna be, but it's usually about the same or up a little bit, so.
We just leave Holland out?
For now, yeah, until they sign it, so. They haven't
You'll
signed
come
it yet.
back with if they ever do sign it, you'll come back?
Yep.
Contract horse.
Okay, for the ones that are signed up, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
All opposed, same sign. That carries.
Thank you.
Do you have an opinion on the cannabis?
Say what?
Do you have an opinion on the cannabis stuff we've been working on?
Yeah, but it don't matter.
We can't have this,
It's not gonna,
we can't have the same opinion, but
gonna be a good thing for anybody.
we had what, 10 people at the open
Public hearing.
public hearing, so.
Whether whoever has a dispensary, that's not even the issue. The issue is that we have to do it. It's just,
And you'll have to make the inspections or whatever once a year, for sure.
we have, the task force has done some of that already, like down in Laverne and stuff, so. We're doing with that already, so.
Has Laverne got one up and active? Is it selected? They did.
I know they were working,
Low,
I don't know that they've done anything with the
not
current,
new. This is
with the
couple
current
years ago.
legislation, no, that. But we help, advise on the committee as well.
Mhm.
So and we kind of have listened and our response is gonna be probably a lot more reactive in the situation. Where we headed with this locally. Decisions, but we're gonna do whatever we need to do. But it doesn't make it any easier for sure.
We're ready, got another deputy signed up for DRE, drug recognition expert, because there's gonna be a lot more DWIs with marijuana than alcohol anymore, so. That's another big expense and training we have, so. There's still not a quick test for that? Is there, are they working on it?
Easy test for the impairment, the DWI arrested. And that's the part of that drug recognition training is proving not just the driving impairment, but that the body is impaired too. And that there is never going to be a quick test for that. Like, and the process is not much longer than an alcohol related DWI. There's just not a machine that tests it. Body, but the process is getting, we've unfortunately are doing a lot more of those types of DWIRS. And with having 2 DREs already on staff and we have our own phlebotomists, some of our people are trained to draw blood as well upstairs. Happens, so the process is pretty well fine tuned. What it's come to, so things are changing and we're trying to change with it.
It'd be nice to get at least 3 or 4 DREs on board, so. Eventually, but it's, said it's like 4 weeks of training, and I mean, it's a big commitment.
Travel, out of state certification, it's a big. And have staff that want to do it too.
We need to have them do the training and then move on to somewhere else.
And that's another factor too. I'm kind of fortunate to not have to deal with that factor most recently. Definitely part of the decision on what I'll move forward with administration gets assigned. We're fortunate to have a group on board with wanting to help and having the ability to do it because it's a lot of mission and health knowledge. Also have
It's fortunate, but it's not just by good luck. It's because of the environment that you guys have created in your department where we're able to retain good people, and I appreciate that.
and we appreciate it. It's a group effort by everyone.
Is there any state funding or reimbursement for that training, or is it all on the county?
It's free,
Oh, it is,
except for the hours.
the time, just the time
Yeah.
away,
It's the time and the time. And
always.
Travel and
some travel costs, but yeah, the actual training itself is free, which would be a huge expense.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But what they have is trying to find a place to go do their certification, and that's why it
It was Philadelphia. last time,
Oregon,
remember that?
yeah.
Oh, really?
Why? That's why they gotta travel so far. They need to areas because there's a large. So many certified recognition subjects that they need to test. You have to unfortunately find the location. Those kinds of people.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't, not that it doesn't exist everywhere, but you have to find that higher cost. Makes that travel important. And it's a big commitment.
But the expenses, we pay somebody to go for 2 weeks, but we gotta backfill a shift now.
Right.
And just not have somebody on the road, so that's where it gets expensive. I have one question on your remodel project. Went to the AMC convention, they had a public safety policy committee, and they talked about armor. Are we getting a new board, a new dispatch board?
For the armor radio, like the dispatch council itself,
Yeah.
the actual
Yes.
communication part of it.
Yes.
We are not on part of this remodel. That's not part of that
Okay.
project. We do know that the sun is setting on the current MCC 7500 software we use now. And they're going to 7500E console.
Yeah.
And that expenses, and we've discussed that a little bit. Now they're here, but we're not there yet, so.
He was recommending the new one. He said their Motorola is still selling the old one, but so don't buy an old one.
Yeah, no.
Well, we're keeping what we got for
Yeah,
equipment.
We'll run
Okay.
this one as long as we absolutely can. And then what'll come down to is it'll probably not be an operational day-to-day problem. It'll be, it's not being supported.
Supported.
All
Yeah.
software. Not a physical radio. Like everything we're finding out is moving too, right? Yeah, no, good point, and that is not part of
Okay.
this.
I just wanted to check with you guys. He gave me a resource, the guys that are doing it right now. It's a Brian from Clay County.
And actually, radio parts wouldn't even be under the restricted fund. We couldn't use that
Couldn't
money.
use that. Okay.
And that dollar figure, when we get to that point, is gonna be much larger. Getting anywhere close to that, we'll be coming with some
Start
kind of,
saving our pennies.
Yeah.
yeah. But what we're doing now is working real good on that side of things.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Steve, I think it's up to you.
Okay. Chairman, the last things we have are our salaries and budget and levy. First one I had on the list is set the non-union employees. Harry alluded to that already this morning. The unions are all taken care of for 25, so their pay plans are already set for 25. So this would be for the non-union and department head plan. Comments, Carrie? Okay, just to reiterate, this is a 4% increase from 24, and there are 2.7 steps, 2.7% between steps approximately.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support?
Yes.
Work by Dan. Any other comments, questions?
Chair, good question.
Okay.
So this considered a COLA? This 4%? I know I mentioned this last year. I'm not for percent raises with COLAs. It's such a big swing from the higher end of the scale to the lower end of the scale. It's, I feel more that, we should use a dollar amount. Cost of living, to me, is the same for everybody. So someone on the lower end is getting really less than half what somebody is on the upper end. So that being said, I will not support a percentage.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
In regards to Doug's feelings, and I agree, I understand what you're saying, because that huge difference between the scales, the pay scales. Carrie, is there any other way that we could administer it that you can envision that would be more equitable? I don't know what the answer would be. It's a reality that there is that disparity.
Sure, going forward, there are lots of ways we can do it. We can do dollar amounts in the future, but this went back to our 2-year plan for 24 and 25 when we did our salary adjustments, working with Gallagher to get this through. So this was to get us to where we needed to be.
Contracts, and you can't hardly give non-union people less than what the union people are getting.
Their pay plan is the same.
Yep. And the union's agreement is that it is a percentage across
At
all
this
the
point.
steps.
It is in the current contract.
Current contract.
yeah.
This is the same pay plan. Unions are looking at also.
So the only way you could address that would be in the next union negotiations, that it go
That'll
to
be
a
this-
dollar amount instead of a percentage amount through the steps.
That will be negotiated in 25 for future years.
And would it indeed be how do you make that equitable too? You know, how do you set that up on the steps? I don't know.
Use dollar amounts instead of percentages.
You can try, but
But just like the IRS, they tax different in
Right.
the other, I mean, we could create some that where that's the only thing I can think of, and we're really getting into a lot of philosophy here. The logistics of which would be kind of a nightmare for me,
Yeah.
but
But
there may be
it's,
some precedent. I can check with my HR peer group and see if there's anyone who has tried to go with that. Equity is.
and that's why it's just easier. It's easier to say percent, but it's just not fair. It's just not.
I agree.
A very good point.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. I understand your point, though. 4% of 40,000 is on $1,600, and 4% of $80,000 is 30.
Is 4,000. Here's the figures.
Yeah.
The top end to the low
I
end.
understand that.
Lot.
Next.
What I have on here is this 2025 salaries for county attorney and sheriff. Budget as well. We had the budget meetings, 24 increase for the county attorney. Is 9,872 is the salary in 24. 1,6. I did bring that 2 weeks ago to their meeting and brought that forward. What I used in the budget, and that dollar amount is in the budget for the county attorney. This brings him up a lot closer to what's going on in the region anyway. And I don't think anyone can disagree that the county attorney's work level and amount of things that they're doing for this county is increasing.
Not going down, not going down.
So it'd be the recommendation for the county attorney and the sheriff. His was budgeted at 5%, keeps him in pretty much in the range with everybody else in the region as well. And that would go from 121,980 to 128,079, and that is reflected in the budget and levy that we have presented today.
Here, make a motion to approve the county attorney salary and the county sheriff salary.
Thank you. Is there support for that?
Second.
Chris, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. That's carried.
Next, we have the two budget resolutions on here. The only additions I have made after the truth and taxation meeting, which for media's presence, we had people interested in their valuations and no one to attend the county truth and taxation here regarding our budget and levy. Assessor's office was here and they did talk to those people and set up meetings to talk about evaluations with them. So the only change that I made to the budget was a reduction in the family service levy. That brought down about $16,000 and change on that. So that is their levy now is 1,773,555, which is a 5.58% increase over 20. Everything else remained the same. The only thing I changed on those two levies or the sheets into the budgets. So recommending approving Resolution 5930-24 and Resolution 59-31-24 for budget levy for taxes payable in 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve that.
Thank you, Dan. Is there support for that?
Second.
Luke, a second. Estimated time 15 minutes. Do we have to argue about this for 15 minutes?
So I gotta set the board salary too.
Oh. The final budget and levy motions are on the floor right now, though. Any,
Just add that, considering that we had, 20% salary increases over the last 2 years, and our last 2-year levy increases were 14.71 combined. Obviously, we trimmed where we could to accommodate the salary increases that were pretty much brought on by the work comp study or the whatever salary study that we're required to do by another state mandate. And, the levy increase was lower than the salary increases, which we had to pay out. And obviously, that's your biggest expense is people. And yet we have no debt and we're not spending out of reserves, so we're being as thrifty as we can, I guess.
I agree.
I myself am happy with the 7% too, and I'd like to thank Steve for all the department heads for all the work that they've done on this.
Yep.
With this new statute with family medical leave that our salary, our labor gonna take a bump on that next year, so.
Percent employer, whatever that assessment. There's major concerns with this thing. Okay, from employment account.
Yeah,
That's
for a
run
work
by the
comp,
state,
yeah.
and they have, some millions of dollars. There's concerns about so many programs, particularly people from time.
Right.
Employees sick and save
Boy.
time, the
Yep.
short-term, long-term disability.
Mhm.
All of these things combined together. Interesting project. As a South Dakotan, I'm especially.
I know, it's
Had to throw that in our face.
one of AMC's priorities is to, get the legislature to make some changes to make some of this go away, because it's not feasible. I think it's gonna drive some small employers out of business.
There's already a lot. Short a shoestring. If it's really.
Right.
It's protecting people who can't. Sick time. They showed a picture of a puzzle. It was like a cube. It was a cube puzzle with all these little pieces as part of the cube, and it's all. State of Minnesota has.
So is this all on top of the sick leave that we provide?
Yes,
Yeah.
So we could back that off.
but it's part of the contracts.
Well, then you negotiate that.
Good luck.
I'll do it.
So, I mean,
No, I'm serious.
I mean,
I know what you mean.
it won't,
I'm sort of kidding,
They
but.
will ask-
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Employer, not the 50-50. So they're already putting up contract language for us to kind of bring to the table.
I can understand that there are some employers that aren't as generous as others when it comes to paid time off. So I can understand the reasoning behind this, but again, the pendulum has, in my opinion, swung too far. And this really penalizes companies that do take care of their people, because now it's gonna be an added cost to them over and above what they've already been doing, so.
You were talking about negotiating, but if if they get all this mandated from the state and the county backs off a little bit, they'd still get the same, right? In the end, as long as they get the same and we're not taking away.
Some of the concerns I have is the regulation of all different programs. Say they're out for 12 weeks for FMLA, for example. They're covered by short-term. Then this also comes, they're filing like an unemployment. What protections are in place? call this income replacement coverage. Long-term disability doesn't. Not a major thing. However, anybody can get a doctor note for any reason. They decide they don't want to work. I could go to my doctor right now and say, hey, I got sciatica in my back and I can't. And it's a lot of ways to game the system. That's the biggest concern I have, is that if somebody, hey, I don't want to work anymore, sitting on 800 hours of sick time, and like, it might benefit them more to not work. Never a good thing.
Don't tell them that.
Oh, they know that.
Well, people that want to figure that out will figure it out.
They know
very quickly.
Another concern with their budget for next year as well, too. Again, Health and Human Services, as we all know, is the major part of our levy, of our budget. And there's a new regulation, as you're all aware, is also, and it specifically says for African-American youth in Health and Human Services that they have to have special accommodations. And the predictions are these special accommodations are going to increase the number of employees we're going to have. I think at Southwest Health and Services, they're talking about bringing on 3, maybe 4 new employees to help make these special accommodations. So again, we're going to see that levy for Health and Human Services take a big.
And it's not just for African-American children, it's for all poor.
But the strange thing is the way the legislation was worded, it was specifically worded African Americans. Now after that, they've came back and added some.
I know it's in the title, but the bottom line is it's going to apply to most cases.
Yes, it really will.
Which is why the increase will be so big. I know Beth said for Southwest, she thought it would be $3.5 million.
To be able to comply with this new legislation. Yeah.
That's a pretty big increase to split 6 ways.
Divide by 6. Yeah.
Yep. And why they ever worded that legislation that way is, it boggles my mind too.
Then throw in if they shut down demo landfills and we're forced to do something there, it also would be even a bigger number.
I'm glad that we don't have any debt.
Yes.
Juxtapose opinion and seeing.
Which is why you see a lot of businesses leaving the state.
It's the compliance, it's just burden, just keep.
All bad news.
Call-
Merry Christmas.
Call the question.
To come, right?
Yeah.
Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, have the board salary increase for 25. I put that on the budget for 3%. This is where you guys get to decide what you want to do.
Mr. Chair, may I make a motion?
You certainly may.
That we do not take an increase this year, that we stay at 0%. I feel that the taxpayers are very generous, especially consider our health insurance and our health savings account. I'm very content with what we got.
Is there support for that?
Support.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
Well, as I've said in the past, I think that if you're gonna give everyone else a raise, you should be consistent.
Yeah, I understand. And again, this is compensation. This isn't a salary. We're not employees.
No, I'll just comment that the consumer price index for inflation, it came in at 2.9, I believe, and Social Security people, I think, received a 2.5.
2.5, I think, yeah.
My comment is if we give our employees a 3% raise, I think we deserve one also.
We gave them 4%.
Pardon me?
The employees went 4%.
Yeah, well, I'm happy with 3.
Well, no, go ahead. Sorry.
So my,
I don't mean to grandstand or to undermine or demean anybody's effort here. I appreciate all you guys and yes, there's a lot of work that goes into this. I just feel very strongly that we're well compensated.
Anybody else want to comment?
Just agree with Dan. I think we're well compensated. I mean, we do put a lot of time in, but I agree.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of Dan's motion, say aye.
I,
All opposed?
I,
I think I have the vote. I will vote against Dan's motion.
Here, I'll make a motion, for, 2.5% board salary increase.
I'd second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion?
Doug, did you say 2.5?
2.5.
That isn't gonna mess up your calculation, is it?
We got- How much?
shit, this, we're under it.
If you indulge me a little bit, when I got elected, I came to some meetings and the last, Bruce, who I replaced, was the chairman. And the last thing he voted on, just like here, was a salary increase. And I'm sitting back there and Bruce is voting, it was 2-2, just the same as it is now. And he had the chair and he voted against the salary increase. And talked to him later, he says, really? You know, you were leaving the board. You didn't have any skin in that game at all. You're done. So he had no answer for me.
And if I may also, and that's one of the things that I wish somehow we could change. I just think that it doesn't look good when we're voting ourselves a raise. I wish there was some way mechanically that we could do this differently. But
No, we have to. We have to.
That's how it is, yeah.
There's gotta be a law. There is a law.
Very good way to apply logic and data.
But it's something to go by. We're not just picking a number out of the sky. It's just, yeah,
Justification based on the market.
right. And well,
Federal
inflation,
government puts it out.
inflation rate, yeah. Or it's lower than inflation rate, actually.
and over the years, it's gone both ways, Dal. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of a 2.5% raise, say aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed?
I,
Carried. Next year, Chris, you're the chair.
it's the same issue all the time. I understand completely.
are we gonna set per diems or is that gonna be in January?
I'm sorry, what?
We're gonna set per diems or is that gonna be in January?
Is that what the January 7th meeting is?
That's correct. That's our organization. Yes,
Do I open that meeting or you open it?
I open it.
Okay, thank you. So I know.
And we'll have new commissioners, well, not new, but re-elected commissioners.
Sworn in,
Re-elected.
sworn in. Would be
New-
sworn.
Be able to get a judge down here or not. It might be myself, or maybe I can get the court administrator down, but I'm not
Judge
sure.
Thayer is done.
Exactly. So we won't have a judge, I don't think. So probably have to doing it ourselves.
We're gonna have a sheriff do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
They call it.
Any other business coming before this board at this time, this place?
Yes, yep, that we did that first thing as soon as county attorney came in.
Thank you. Is there support?
I'll second that. It's been a good
All
year.
in favor,
guys.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Who made the motion to adjourn, please?
I did.
Luke.
Second.
Doug, second?
Chairperson.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, we did a good job.
How work did you think?
No, it looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like a job.
It's not quite as scary the way it was. Once you get the control of it down, it's not quite so scary.
Brandon